Welcome to this episode of Diversifi Speaker Series. Today, we are joined by James Augustin, a Managing Director for CoronaUnity. He has a bunch of other experience in the diversity inclusion sector that he's been able to do with that as well. James, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Sebastian. Pleasure.
Yeah, it's a pleasure as well. So tell me, what have you been up to? What's been taking your time right now?
Yeah, so I just graduated from the University of Manchester. I'm currently working at a consultancy called Elixir, but over the last 6 months, I founded what started out as a COVID response company and still is with some respects, but it's kind of become a lot more than that now. So the company I founded was called CoronaUnity. Now that started just a week before the UK went into lockdown. And I called up my friend Aiden. I said, hey, this is going to be really, really bad. We need to kind of create a website that's going to help people. So the original idea was to create an app that would connect anyone to anyone who needed help. So say, for example, if they needed some medicine or needed some shopping delivered, they'd be able to go on the app and get it. Quite soon after that, the government of the UK actually released an app, but we thought, right, okay, the effects of the pandemic are so multidimensional. Let's not stop there. Let's carry on seeing how we can help. So we came up with a phone a friend software service that was to connect people for an informal, non-clinical chat, the type you might get in the street, because obviously loneliness was at an all-time high. So we did that and it gained a lot of steam. We managed to get people from all over the world helping to code this, people from Argentina, Uruguay, India, Poland, all over the UK, from Spain as well. Really people from just all over the world, which is absolutely amazing to see. And so we built out this phone a friend app, which was to connect people for like an informal, non-clinical chat, as I said. And yeah, it got featured on some regional BBCs and other media outlets around the country. And we were helping people basically combat the loneliness they were feeling throughout lockdown. So as lockdown started to end, we were quite aware that the kind of numbers on our phone a friend line was becoming less and less, which was good, because obviously people were starting to feel less lonely because they could go outside and connect with other people, of course. So we kind of thought, how can we really help more long term? So that's when I had the idea of, okay, the charity sector is hugely impacted. And there's also loads of students who maybe have had internships cancelled and can't go out and see their friends as much because of lockdown restrictions and various other things. So we thought, okay, let's utilize these students and let's basically create a student consultancy. So we kind of put all of our resources into that. And we did a 4-week sprint to kind of get everything together. We managed to get 114 consultants interviewed and hired into the company, and 21 charity projects, which we did 6-week projects for over summer. And yeah, we finished them in September, and now we've started our next round. So that's what we've been doing with CoronaUnity.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So walk me through that whole process. If you kind of just, from the ground up, building up, 114 consultants is incredible number, considering the times that we're looking at, and just the traditional routes of recruiting aren't available. So, how did you really see that exponential growth?
So I think it was, as I mentioned, there were so many people looking for things to do, looking for valuable things to do with their time. So obviously that really, really helped. I think what was cool as well is interestingly, I said I worked in consulting now. I actually didn't really know what consulting was properly in May. It was actually my co-founder who had some experience in it. And he said, hey, look, this is really cool. Let's do it. And I kind of noticed as soon as we said, right, this is what we're going to do. But typically the only kind of people within the UK who get the opportunity to do real life consulting is at like the top universities. And actually no one else really has this opportunity, which obviously is a huge amount of like really brilliant people. So we basically opened up applications to everyone. And I think that was kind of, in a lot of ways, our kind of USP is that we were cross university. And that was a model which I believe hadn't been done before, especially not in the UK. So we opened it up and we said, literally everyone is welcome, because I knew there was brilliant people who weren't just at those top universities. And so, yeah, we managed to get hundreds of applicants, and we had a busy 4 weeks interviewing people, assigning them to projects, getting the team structures in place. And yeah, that's kind of how we managed to do it in such a short time.
What do those projects look like? How did you start garnering that interest from, clients? And then, what were some of those projects that you were able to work on?
Yeah, so there was no easy way for attracting, like the majority of our projects. We actually just had an outreach team, which were basically, we set them a target of emailing over 20 different 20 different charities and non-profits a week. So I think altogether they contacted close to 300. Obviously, charities have got a lot on at the moment and they're scarce for resources. So obviously, only about a tenth of that actual number managed to reply to us, and then we got them on basically a problem scoping call where our partners, we were partnered with this company called the COVID-19 Response Company. They were really helpful in basically scoping out the projects for our consultants to do. But yeah, the projects themselves were extremely diverse. So obviously with consulting, no two projects are the same, and no two clients are the same. We focus on a huge variety of different areas. So the projects included fundraising strategy, recruitment and retention strategy, marketing strategy, feasibility testing of new projects, of new products, digital transformation. And so yeah, there was a huge kind of array of things needed doing, because obviously COVID has affected them in so many ways. Like I work for a charity, well, I did for university, which is actually probably why I'm most interested in social mobility now, called DebateMate. And what DebateMate do is they help students and people, sorry, yeah, students, school children in low income areas and areas of low economic and educational opportunity. They provide them like top class debating training. And so, for example, we did a project for them, and I know DebateMate from my work with them, the way we get students on board to run these debating sessions is by a lot of freshers fairs, which are like at the beginning of the year, you have like stalls and you say, hey, come do this.
Yeah.
Obviously with COVID, that's no longer a possibility.
Right.
So we kind of help them with their recruitment and retention strategy. How do they adapt, and how do they continue getting these top class students to go and do the amazing work that DebateMate does? So yeah, that's one example. Another one was a charity we worked with called Child Bereavement UK, which is really big in the UK, an amazing charity that basically helps teach people about how to deal with child bereavement. When obviously a family loses a child, it's a hugely difficult thing. They typically focus on going into schools, going into hospitals, going into other places such as that, and delivering face-to-face training to help people deal with it. And obviously with COVID, that's no longer feasible. So we really just help them with how can they do a digital transformation to take that all online to help with the amazing work that they're doing.
For your consultancy, what does a successful project look like? I know that the time the ways that you tackle all the projects are all very different, but how do you kind of gauge that success?
So I think the way what we're kind of saying now is the way we're gauging. So to put it in a kind of quantitative way, the way we gauge success was by putting surveys out, and they were very successful. So we managed to get an average score of 4.8 out of 5 for the end of project client surveys, as in the overall score with how they felt everything went, which obviously is extremely high, and we're really proud of that. I think the kind of way we did that was by running quite a tight ship with regards to how much personal development we put on our students. So we were constantly there giving them mentoring. We had a good structure where the engagement manager, the team leader, had always had a consultancy experience before. So they were obviously able to really help them out. Above them, we then had a consulting director who is typically, they were very experienced people. Those one of them was a brilliant PhD student who does a applied physics PhD. Another one had got a year work in Accenture, and those people were really experienced kind of in consulting and really brilliant and intelligent and able to really kind of feed down onto those consultants to make sure the kind of standards were being kept. As well as that, we had kind of internal reviews, performance reviews, where we got people basically just to think about their own performance. Obviously, we're all learning. Like I said this right from the beginning, we're all extremely young, and we're all just learning about what we do and learning about consulting and learning about how to run a business properly. So it was all just really about kind of reflecting on ourselves and thinking, how can we push ourselves to really succeed? I'd say the kind of last measure to ensure that we had success in our projects was we had internal presentations where we'd always try and get the whole of the senior management team watching the presentation. So we had an internal presentation and halfway through our projects, and then one a week before the final client presentation. It was here that we really gave them a big steer in terms of what the kind of standard of presenting should be like, in terms of their talking and how they approach stuff with confidence, and as well as that, what the kind of formatting and how they're displaying the information should be like. Because with those kind of steers, obviously everyone, once they've gone through university, has all of the abilities to kind of go away and research stuff and kind of put out a good content. It's just about kind of how do they format it at that point, and
Right.
how do they present it in a very good manner. So I'd say, yeah, it was a complete team effort, and we were very lucky that we had a very tight ship running, and lots of kind of support and lots of structure who was there to kind of really create a community that delivered on these projects.
Right. So one thing that really stood out to me the first time we spoke was the reports and the work that you're doing for diversity and inclusion. So, you were telling me, and one of those things that really impressed me was the report that an internal report you guys did on the diversity and inclusion front. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So my co-founder Zach, he's involved in a startup, which is a diversity and inclusion startup called Dial Global. And so Zach came to me and he said they need somebody to write this kind of groundbreaking report, where they're essentially analysing the top FTSE 500 companies in the UK along different metrics of diversity and inclusion. So they needed somebody to write the report. We kind of said, well, we've got all of these brilliant people kind of looking to do something, looking to make an impact. We could definitely write it for you. So that was kind of how we got writing those reports. Obviously, as I said, diversity and inclusion was a core kind of element right from the beginning, but this was kind of the more formal way we started. And so we started writing that report, which is going to be released, I believe, this month in November, which everyone's very excited about, for a brilliant company called Dial Global. And that kind of spurred us to make our own diversity and inclusion report. Now, this report was amazing. Like, we got Jasmine, who is head of operations and one of my co-founders, to write this report, and she did it absolutely brilliantly. The metrics were amazing. I think we had about 55% of the company who were BAME. We had 60% of the company who were women. And we also found that essentially everybody felt that their views were being listened to and that they really belonged within the company. In fact, I believe nobody's saying no, but a few don't know, as is classic. But
Right.
yeah, so that's what we did. And I think that metric really kind of made getting that report and realizing kind of how well we were doing the diversity and inclusion really kind of spurred us on to even more kind of solidify it within our ethos and what we're doing moving forward. So we're now starting to partner with a lot of diversity and inclusion companies to basically run workshops for the people that their members and stuff like that, and hopefully get them within the company, because I think diversity and inclusion is so important. And obviously, as you know yourself from when we first spoke, you really kind of understood the importance of it within finance from when you were applying to different places. And
Right.
I can realize that myself. I think a lot of people who go into consulting, they've been kind of thinking about it for a few years, and they kind of just think, okay, consulting, I'd really like to do that. As I said, I think my entrance to it was a bit unusual in that in May I didn't really know what it was, but one of the things that struck me straight away was it seemed like it was a very kind of not elite, but a very kind of niche thing that I think a lot of people didn't know about. So I kind of thought, by making it more diverse, by really putting this focus on diversity inclusion, and that means as well as BAME and as well as women and as well as people from all demographics, people from not just the top universities, giving them the same opportunities that typically you'd only get at these top universities, was
Exactly.
extremely important. And I think that's what your brilliant company Diversifi Ventures is along the same track for as well. So
Right. Right, exactly. I think that was kind of what opened my eyes is when I was recruiting. I saw that there's just so much diverse talent everywhere, and it's just there's a lot of it. A lot of it's just untapped. You see a lot of these, what you would call a non-target school, but within those non-target schools, you have these hardworking, incredibly motivated kids with the chip on their shoulder that they come from these backgrounds, and they're gonna work 10 times harder than the next. So, it's really trying to open those doors and unlock those opportunities for them. So, it's incredibly commendable the work that you're doing as well.
exactly. And I think that's the thing. Once they have the opportunities, they do just go out and excel. Because
Right.
once they do have access to the same opportunities but typically they might not, or them demographics might not, it's just extremely important for, I think, kind of business all over the world, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
once you start those opportunities at the university level, at the high school, secondary school level, once those opportunities really start coming in there, that's when it will systemically kind of feed up into the whole kind of corporate world and everywhere. So
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. What does the future of CoronaUnity look like?
So the future of CoronaUnity, big question. I think, as I mentioned, we managed to do very high standard projects. So we of course want to expand, but we don't just want to expand for the sake of expanding. We want to ensure now over the next year that we can really get those kind of systems in place to ensure that everything we worked really, really hard on building is going to stay. And obviously, I think that by partnering with these diversity and inclusion focused companies, by saying to their members, hey, look, this is what we're doing. This is such a brilliant opportunity. You might not have got this in other places, and this could like really provide you with some opportunities. I think we're really going to keep expanding and make some amazing impact and really, really develop our consultants and help with social mobility. So I think that's the kind of end goal.
Incredible. So for somebody that wants to pursue a career in consulting, what should they be doing to kind of progress to that level or to that goal?
Well, quite simply, I'd say they should definitely be applying to CoronaUnity because we are cross university, across the world.
Right.
We allow anyone to apply and to get in. And if you're kind of ambitious and you're hardworking and you can demonstrate that, then we'd absolutely love to have you in. And I think in consulting, there really is kind of no, when you go and apply for a job, there really is no kind of substitute for having real hands-on experience of a client. It's
100%.
one thing, exactly, like it's one thing, for example, I did a university module last year where I had to write a consultancy report, but it just didn't give the kind of same context as this does. You've got the opportunity to go to an interview and not just say, oh, I did my degree and I did maybe a report and I did a presentation, to actually say, yeah, I'm so interested in consulting, but I did a project for this charity, which is a huge charity in the UK or a huge charity in the US. And we worked in a team. We got able to display leadership. We got training. We got mentors, and we delivered a really good client presentation. It taught me kind of teamwork, and it taught me working to deadlines and the importance of all of these kind of consulting toolkits in working out solutions for companies' biggest problems. So I really don't think there's any kind of substitute if you want to get into consulting to join CoronaUnity or to join a pro bono kind of society and really get your hands in it. But I would say it's even further than just consulting. I think consulting is so multidisciplinary, and the skills that it teaches you, as I'm sure you're aware, loads of people just go into consulting for maybe the first few years of their career
Right.
and then leave and do other things. I think exactly that. Even if you're not looking to go into consulting, even if you're looking to find out more about businesses, improve your teamwork, improve your leadership, improve your skill set in any capacity, I would say that doing a kind of real life project is the best way to do it. And we've had this. So somebody called me up a couple of weeks ago and said, I've just got into a grad job at PwC. He said,
Wow.
I've only ever worked at as a labourer, just doing that in the summer or on the as a bar. He said on the bar. He said I have no kind of corporate experience, but the project that I did with CoronaUnity over summer taught me so much about leadership, teamwork, all this other kind of stuff. And he said consistently throughout his interview rounds, he kept referring to it and kept referring to the skills that he'd got, and it allowed him to get that kind of audit grad job at PwC. So I really do think it's amazing for not just people who want to get into consulting, people who want to kind of do anything. And I'd really advise anyone who is kind of on it and ambitious and wanting to make an impact to kind of get involved. So yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that not only is it a great way to get experience, but it's a one in a lifetime opportunity. I mean, we hopefully, knock on wood, we'll never see something like this, at least anytime soon. So you have an opportunity to work with, these nonprofits and charities that are in a distressed position that they're not going to be, experiencing in this kind of situation, ever again. So it's a really interesting
Yeah, let's
time to
hope not.
have it, so
Yeah.
it's a really interesting time. And I think it's a great time, like a great opportunity and a great time to get into it.
Yeah.
So for those interested, are applications open? Will they be opening anytime soon? How can we direct them to your
Yeah,
consultant?
so for those interested, I would say we've currently just started our next cohort of projects in the autumn. So in February, we'll be starting our next round of projects. So just follow us on LinkedIn. Feel free to follow myself because I post about it a lot as well. And then, yeah, keep an eye out once applications open again. Uh, we're looking forward to everyone applying. And in the summer as well, this will probably be the first time in the summer that we do kind of a big expansion. So as I said, we've got about 20 projects running at the moment. We did just over 20 in summer. I think we'll probably be doing around 20 again in February. But come to summer, we're hoping to get all of the kind of infrastructure in place solidly to really expand that and really make a huge social impact. And I think just to kind of touch on what you said there, Sebastian, I think that is the amazing thing that sometimes overlooked is that consulting is obviously seen as this very kind of corporate thing. You're doing it to build your skills and all the rest of it. But I mean, the kind of foundations for our company, as opposed to student societies around the world, was that it really was a kind of benevolent thing. It really was a COVID-19 response company, and
Right.
that's why it started up. And it's absolutely amazing to get feedback from all of these companies. And some of them have even sent like certificates and thank yous to every single team member they've worked with.
Wow.
And I think that feeling of going away and saying, because it's volunteering for a charity, but in a completely different way. Like it's a
Right.
completely different way. If you walk away in a charity that helps, say, a few 100,000 people every single year across the world, if they go, wow, that work you did really well, either allowed us to carry on because it was for fundraising, allowed us to increase our reach and help people with mental health issues or people who are impoverished all around the world, for them to come back and say that the work you did really, really dramatically allowed them to continue and allowed them to not only survive but thrive in the wake of the pandemic. It's a really kind of special feeling, and I know it's something that was a common thread amongst all of our consultants, that they really kind of got that gratification as well as that personal development. So yeah.
That's awesome. James, any last words for the viewers watching?
No, but I'd just like to thank you very much for having me on. It's
Yeah.
been a real pleasure. It was really exciting to speak to you last week, and it's
Yeah.
great to meet someone who's so enthusiastic about diversity and inclusion as yourself. And I hope I might be on again in the future.
Yeah, of course, James. It's a pleasure. For anybody watching again, keep an eye out on CoronaUnity if you're interested. It's an amazing opportunity. I have an opportunity to work internationally with charities and nonprofits and really, feel that social impact of the work that you've been doing. James, thank you again.
Thank you, Sebastian.